Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest in the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, today I have Emil Barr on the line, and he is a two-time founder, and today we're going to be talking about FlashPass, which he's the founder and CEO of. And first thing first, I just want to say, Emil, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Adam. Thanks for having me on.
All right, so this is a big topic. Building $1 million business in college. Like, that's insane. That's amazing. When I think about what I was doing in college, man, I wish you would have been one of my friends back then because I was not building $1 million business. I want to get into that and more into your story, but before we get into the college years and building that business, I'm just curious. So was that one of your first businesses, or were you like as a kid a business much younger? How did that start for you?
Yeah, totally. So it definitely wasn't the first business. I think it's the second business, but it was also, I wasn't a serial entrepreneur as a kid or anything like that. I grew up in a small town in Ohio. My mom was a teacher. My dad was sort of an insurance guy. And I don't think we really had any entrepreneurs when I grew up, to be honest. But
where did it come from for you then? What was that? How did you get the bug?
Well, I think it's actually, this story kind of begets itself to that point. But what I did do is my senior year after graduating high school, I wanted to go to college for tennis. I wasn't nearly good enough to go to college for tennis, but at the time I had sort of started a kids' summer tennis camp. And essentially the idea was that it would be a fun place. We did it at the local park. It was like, hey, you could send your kid there, spend $10 and get rid of them for half a day. They'll play tennis with their friends and teach them how to play tennis. Well, in that 3-month period between sort of graduating high school in May and starting college in August, sort of through word of mouth, we had actually grown that camp from, at our start, it was just 4 kids and me, to I hired the entire girls varsity tennis team, and we were doing 10 courts around the city. We were running about 100 kids through the program every single day. So I was making, in that sort of 3-month period, I made about $70,000 going into college in total cash. So I'd go to the bank, the local community credit union, and deposit $70,000 in cash. And they definitely thought I was doing something else. I was teaching kids tennis. But along the way, we learned a lot about business. But then I got to college, right? And I went to a school, and they were kind of like, if you work really hard and you're top of your class, which I was never top of my class, but I did know how to work hard. They're like, you could get one of these prestigious jobs at a company like Deloitte or KPMG and be an accountant, sort of an auditor, and you could make almost $70,000 a year right out of college. And I was like, wait, I just made $70,000 in cash, over the last 2.5 months teaching tennis out of the back of my Volkswagen, You're telling me that if I work really hard, I'll get paid $70,000 over the period of a year if I'm top of my class. So at that point, I started reading about entrepreneurship, started reading various books, really went on a binge, read Steve Jobs' autobiography, read Warren Buffett, kind of read Elon, all these kind of great entrepreneurs, and realized that if I kind of wanted to set myself on this path of financial independence or do something maybe a little bit bigger than what many of my peers or the people I grew up with were kind of wanted to do, I would have to be an entrepreneur to accomplish that mission.
And what were your next steps there? So you have this realization, do you stay in school? Do you stop? What happens next for you?
Yeah, I stayed in school. I actually graduated in May of last year. So I'm now 9 months out of school. Across the 2 companies, we probably employ about 50 people, part-time, 150 people. So I was in school the entire time. But no, so after that, what we went out is we saw a market opportunity with TikTok, and by we, I guess it was just me. I learned to say we because it made it seem bigger than just me and a laptop in a dorm room. But I kind of saw that everyone around campus was starting to use this new social media app called TikTok, and I didn't really see any companies on TikTok. So what I did is I would reach out to brands via email, and some that were in person. I'd drive 2 hours into a city and kind of walk into the lobby, and they'd think I was crazy and kick me out, but trying to pitch them on, hey, your company should be on TikTok. This is kind of the new big social media revolution. And we slowly sort of inched ourselves up and started picking up clients. And then from there, really our big unlock is we found that a lot of TikTok creators were part-time and not monetizing their audience. So what we did is we built a platform that would connect brands looking to get on TikTok with their TikTok content with creators that were oftentimes college students or high school students, that were just posting videos for fun. They had never really thought of it as a way to actually make money. And then suddenly offering these creators, the ability to make a couple $1,000s a month from their dorm room, just making videos for our clients. And so from there, the business really exploded as TikTok grew, but also as Instagram started pushing Instagram Reels and Facebook Reels and YouTube Shorts. were able to grow that business into a company that did, while I was still at college, I think within our first 18 months, we hit $1 million a year in revenue. And by the time I graduated, a company that was valued at over $10 million, and learned a lot along the way, hired a full-time team, and actually started buying other agencies while we were doing it. So I would go to geology class in the morning, and take my test in rocks, and then hop on a plane and go buy a marketing agency with 10 people that work there, out of New York that afternoon. So that was a lot of fun.
And so where's that business at today? Where's that at today?
I'm still very involved in the business. About 6 months ago, we received a private equity offer, and we were planning on taking it. And so that business was going to be sold. Ultimately, the PE firm decided that they had some sort of internal struggles where they fired the CEO that was working the deal and was doing some weird stuff with the deal. So we decided not to go with them, and now sort of refocused on just growing that business. But we're in the process of doing another acquisition. We're buying an agency that does video game marketing, which I'm personally very excited about. And I am still involved in the day-to-day, running that business. And really our goal is to make it, a $20-25 million business and then sell it here in the next sort of 18 to 24 months.
It's amazing. And tell me about FlashPass. Talk to me a little bit more about FlashPass as well.
Absolutely. So FlashPass was a new company I actually started only about 1.5 years ago, and I started it out of my college dorm room. And the thesis there was I would go to all of these classes, and we would take these textbooks on things like social media or AI or cybersecurity, and we'd work off these textbooks that were 10 years old. And so a lot of the information wasn't really relevant or made sense. The business thesis for FlashPass is it was like a textbook that people would buy for schools, but it would automatically update every semester with the most up-to-date information. Well, fairly quickly, we learned that it was very, very hard to sell to schools. So even though it was a good business idea, potentially, it was actually, very, very difficult to sell. And so along the way, what FlashPass evolved into, but we had these great courses and material that we developed, is we actually evolved into a platform that's solving unemployment at scale. So if you so if you go to a place like Ohio, where I grew up in, you'll see these huge towns that were booming manufacturing hubs. And now all those jobs have left, and they've sort of become economically depressed compared to where they were, 30, 40, 50 years ago. Well, what FlashPass does is any resident in the state of Ohio, if they've lost their job or even if they're looking for a job, they're a community college student, they're growing up, they're going to a training center, they're a high school student, can actually go sign up for a platform. They can go get certified in sort of the skills of the 21st century. So think they can get certified as AI developers. We partner with great partners like Intel, and they can get an AI readiness certificate from Intel. They can go get certified in Microsoft Excel to get jobs at data entry or at businesses. They can go get certified as cybersecurity specialists. They can go get certified to work in the oil and gas industry. That's a new initiative we just rolled out. And essentially can go pick up these skills that make them competitive for jobs in the 21st century. And then we'll actually go one step further, and through our online platform, we'll connect them to jobs and employers looking for people for work. And so it's free for the actual end user, but it's also free for the employer. Employers can list jobs on our platform for free. We function as basically a no-cost staffing agency for them and provide them with sourced candidates and a source pool of labor. And what we do is we actually contract directly with the government. So through a series of grants and contracts directly with the state, what we're seeing is we're an economic development initiative where if we can lower unemployment levels by even a fraction of a percent of the amount of people dependent on food stamps or sort of the amount of people that don't have housing, the gross economic impact is an 100 multiple higher than what the state is spending with us to sort of facilitate the statewide service, if that makes sense.
It does. And what's been the response so far on this?
It's been positive,
market?
I think it's been very positive, actually. I think that sometimes people think it's too good to be true on kind of the employer and the individual side. But once we get awareness out there and people realize that, hey, this is a real resource, it's been fantastic. I mean, our economic impact has been higher than I even anticipated. We've started to track participants' job data using LinkedIn and a few other sources. And the economic impact of our courses, we're generating almost $200,000 in economic value for every $2 that stays spent on the platform with us. So the return has just been fantastic. But I think the other aspect is it's been really a powerful tool for states to attract employers into their industry. Because what these sort of larger contractors are concerned about is if you're Anduril and you're going to build a huge drone factory, for example, right? There's a lot of states that are interested in offering you tax credits or different incentive programs to go there. But what Ohio can do is we can turn around and say, hey, we actually have 3,000 people that are already certified in the basics of aerospace and drone technology that are looking for jobs in your sector. So what happens is these employers now have a guarantee that there's going to be an actual workforce and enough people looking to work in the facilities that they're building. So it becomes a massive sort of economic development tool for that state.
Wow. It's really, first off, refreshing and fun to listen to your story as an entrepreneur, the way your mind works, and also the way you're building companies. I'm just throwing this out there. What are your goals in the next 5 years? Like, man, you motivate me. I'm like, I got to get to work over here doing these podcast interviews. Come on, man. What are your goals over the next 5 years?
Well, Adam, I appreciate that. I think that it's a little bit sort of idealistic, but I really do think that technology can solve this sort of unemployment and economic issue America is facing. So I think our goal in the next 5 years is we want to use technology to I know we can't economically eliminate unemployment, but to increase the wages of all Americans and essentially upskill and nearshore tech industry within America to make America one of the most advanced sort of employment and technically advanced employment centers in the world, which we have been for a long time until about 30 to 40 years ago. So if we could make this something that's nationally available and anyone that's looking for a job could go on FlashPass and they could go get certified in AI and then go get a job as an AI developer right out of community college making $100,000 a year, that would make me very happy. Coincidentally, I think a business with that much, economic and social impact is a company that should be valued in the billions. So, coincidentally, I think as a result of the impact we're having on the country, I envision FlashPass becoming a company that's worth a couple $1 billion in the next 5 years.
Love it. Emil, this has been great. If somebody's watching and or listening to this and they want to follow up, they want to follow your journey, they want to connect, how do they do that?
Follow me on LinkedIn. I've been committed to, it's a little bit new for me, but I'm putting out content twice a week. And I'm trying to put out content that's a little bit more unique than what you'll typically see. So things like live transcripts of, selling a company for $10 million or recordings of investor calls, or even just, tactical kind of insights into like, hey, when we were selling some equity in FlashPass, how I was able to get things like a free Porsche 911 out of the deal. So if you're interested in that, would really appreciate a follow on LinkedIn and kind of to stay connected there.
Love it. And I got to throw in a bonus question here for the audience because I'm all about the bonuses, Emil. Is it true got to work with and or connect with someone like a Hulk Hogan? And I understand you got these like connections, man. Like throw that out there. I can't leave that one on the table.
Yeah,
I'm
totally.
a Hulkamaniac from way back. Come on, man.
Oh, that's awesome. That's good to know. I'll send you a signed case of beer. No, so we, Candid Network, our social media agency, we helped launch Hulk Hogan's beer brand, which he launched about 6 months ago. So that was, though, the referral there was actually a referral from a guest speaker at my college class. This guy came in, and his whole gig was making product companies with celebrities. He would leverage their personal brand and their connections, and he was an ex-LA guy that would kind of build these companies and incubate them with celebrities. Well, what I did was I really wanted to work with celebrities. I thought that was cool, going to school in Ohio. And so I followed up with this guy 43 times. And on the 43rd message, he replied and said, hey, I actually would love to meet with you. I've been watching some of the stuff you're doing on LinkedIn. I think it's pretty cool how quickly you guys have grown. We flew out that same day. Next day I met with him, and we signed what became a $500,000 piece of business with us and got to work with Hulk Hogan and launched his beer brand all across the country. So there's probably two lessons there, which is right time, right place. But also, if you think you're being too annoying trying to follow up with people, that sometimes it's that 43rd follow-up that makes the difference.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm a fan. I like that whole camp. Darren Prince, I know, is Hulk's guy, and we've been working with him for years. We published him in one of our books, and I got to hear a lot about the Hulk Hogan story and everything else, man. So big shout out to Darren Prince if you're listening to this as well. But, man, I love it. I love the hustle. I love the drive. I know a lot of people are going to listen to this and be like, come on, man, got to get to work. So, Emil, it's been great having you on the show. And to the audience, all those ways to contact Emil, we're going to put some links in the show notes so you can go check out Emil, connect with him on LinkedIn, send some messages, get the conversation going. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe or follow button. This is a daily show. Each and every day, I'm bringing you new content, new ideas, and hopefully new inspiration to help you along the way on your journey as well. So again, hit that subscribe or follow button. And Emil, thanks again for coming on.
Thanks again for having me, Adam.